Hello guys, and welcome to this video where I'll be testing out everything that a mazcab ability codex can unlock. And then I'll give you my opinion on what you should buy first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, also depending on what you're killing, of course. You acquire the mazcab ability codexes through raids. They are a uncommon drop from both Yakamaru and Beastmaster Durzeg. Keep in mind that you can only kill Beastmaster Durzeg and Yakamaru and loot the chest once per 2 days. In order to actually claim a mazcab ability teleport, you'll click the read, then what you'll do is you'll click on the item that you want. You need the level required to use that item to claim it. Once you click it, that's it. You're done. There is no chance to say, yes, I am sure. So, make sure you want it before you click it. Here is the order that I am going to be showing you the mazcab ability codexes. As we go on, I'll cross them off the list. But before we get into that, the price of a mazcab ability codex is 28 million coins as of September 21st, 2020. Back to our awesome list here. The first thing we're getting into is the teleport. Now, there is something slightly bad about buying a 28 million coins just for a teleport. That being that there is other ways that you can get to mazcab. You can spend 2,000 Tessie at the armor shop on mazcab, and for 2,000 Tessie, you will be able to unlock the ability to teleport there. You can use a teleport tablet or teleport runes, and you can get there just fine. Now, if you're on the regular spellbook, what you'll be able to do is, with 3 cosmic runes, 1 soul rune, and 1 law rune, you'll be able to teleport there on the normal spellbook. That will cost you about 4,500 coins, if, unlike me, you've actually bought it from the armor shop. My mazcab ability teleport cost me 25,000 coins, however the GE price is only 6,000. If you're going to be using the runes, it'll take you 6,222 teleports to make up that 28 million coins you would have otherwise spent. Because you would only ever do it every other day, that amounts to 34 years of straight just raids. Keep in mind that the game hasn't even been out for that long. If you're using the tablet, which I'm just going to average out 15,500 gold pieces per, then the amount of teleports that is 1,806. That would be only raiding every other day for only almost 5 years. Almost there. Keep in mind, you do need the 2,000 Tessie in order to unlock this teleport. Otherwise, you'll have to be walking either from Menifos or the bandit camp and jumping into the water and swimming, I guess, to Tuska's body. This is about where the mazcab ability teleport and the runes will get you. I bet you're tired of staring at my awesome picture here and list, but man, the critical hit just looks so cool. But enough about the mazcab teleport. Change the picture so now there's an awesome green line to stare at, and onto storm shards and shatter. It's pretty simple. Every time you get a storm shards and shatter stack, which can miss by the way, you will get 75 to 95% weapon damage on that stack, with a maximum of 10 stacks. Once you use a shatter, which also can miss by the way, what you will do is then obviously deal your damage, but your storm shard stacks will also go away. This ability can be boosted by a Berserk, or a Sunshine, or a Death Swiftness, or a Zaros Godsword spec. If I actually had one of those, I could show you. You only have to do the Berserk when you are actually doing the Shatter. You don't actually have to do the Berserk the entire time you're doing all of the Storm Shards. Now, don't get carried away with all the crits that this thing can do. It's good, but there are several problems about it. Those problems being that it's not very likely that you're going to get 10 stacks on anything but a boss that is a long boss fight. For instance, if you do not miss a single storm shards for the entire boss fight, which is quite unlikely because if a boss has that many hit points, then it's most likely that it's also going to have a high defense. Now, it's going to take you 5 minutes and 30 seconds if you do a storm shards every time it is off cooldown. It's going to take you 5 minutes and 30 seconds just to get 10 stacks, considering that you're not missing a single time. And then even if, of course, you get those 10 stacks, your shatters has a possibility to miss, although that is quite unlikely. And I'm just saying that you're not going to get these big critical hits all the time. You're not going to get those enormous 15,000 points of damage. That's like if you have a 10 stack. Now, it'll be less, closer to 7k, and that's good for a threshold ability. And it is useful for a period of time. If you're going to have a long boss fight, it's useful, extremely useful, to have a stack of storm shards. Don't get me wrong, I love the ability, but I would not necessarily think about getting that one first, because some of the other abilities will do more damage in that time if you had them instead of this ability. Here, I am considering that you're not going to be into Berserk or a Sunshine/Death Swiftness. Now, I'm going to talk about where I would use this ability. I like using it in Phase 4 Telos, and I like using it right after I kill the minions on the 3rd font. I use it to phase into 5th phase. I use this at Araxi, or rather Araxor. I also use this to phase Araxor. During the 3rd phase, I use it to finish off his life points and get him into Araxi phase. You really can't use this at Nex, because every time she will go into another phase, it will have the amount of stacks that you have on the boss. Meaning that if you phase it fast enough, you're always going to have about 0 or 1 stacks on the boss, making it not at all useful to use the threshold ability and get 1,000 damage out of it. With that, onto the onslaught ability. I really like this one. This is actually the first one I ever bought. Here's how the onslaught ability works. Basically, you start off with 50 to 150% ability damage, increasing by 11 to 33% per hit. Your adrenaline is going to start decreasing by 25 per hit. Once your adrenaline stops decreasing, it'll start turning red, your body will, and you'll start losing hit points per hit. The longer your onslaught is, the more damage you'll be able to deal. Oh, by the way, you can die from this. Any potion or food that you eat and drink will stop this ability. This ability would probably be better to use rather than a regular ultimate ability if you only use your 100 adrenaline and not even start hitting your hit points. It will deal more damage. The places I like to use this is in the red beam at Telos, because you'll be able to hit such amazing damage. Also, I really like to use this in Phase 5 of Telos, just in the adrenaline beam, sitting there onslaughting, because the longer you onslaught, the more damage you will be able to deal. And because of the adrenaline beam, you are able to do such a long onslaught and deal such good damage. Also, I like using this thing at Araxi, right before the acid core spawns. Of course, when the acid core spawns, it takes away all of your adrenaline, so that means you are going to be losing your adrenaline first off. I also really like using this thing at Nex. Once you kill the minions, you can just click that onslaught ability and go and attack Nex. And if you keep this onslaught going until she says, "I demand a blood sacrifice," you can get it down to almost phase HP, and then just run away and surge in the opposite direction. Now that is all I have for onslaught. So on to Corruption Blast. Corruption Blast is a magic-only ability that shares the cooldown with Corruption Shot. It is a magic bleed that will hit 5 times for a total of 100 to 300% weapon damage. It will also spread to nearby targets, and also adding the effect of the corruption to them, making it the best basic ability for magic. There's not really a clip I can show you about me using the ability and having it work at certain places and not at other places. It works against everything, that's the cool thing about it. And it's of course especially good against Slayer creatures, the only problem being that it won't actually egg them. Then again, being the best basic ability in the game for magic, it's of course going to be good against bosses too. So basically, it's going to be good against anything you're going to be using magic against. That pretty much sums it all up. Just to let you know, this won't actually skull you if you're in the wilderness in combat with somebody else, and this spreads to somebody you're not in combat with. You will not skull, however it will deal damage to them. That's it for Corruption Blast. There's not really much I can do for Corruption Shot. It's literally the exact same as Corruption Blast. The only difference, it's for range and not magic. They share a cooldown. There's literally nothing else to say about them. So with that, now I'm going to go through and say which ones I would think you should buy first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, depending on what you're doing, of course. And I'm going to give you something different to look at because this is kind of boring. It's just green lines and words in the same picture. It's kind of getting boring. The mazcab ability I think you should buy first is the bleeds. One of the two. We're either doing magic or range. Then you should just buy the bleed to whatever your favorite combat style is. Then it's a decision between either the other bleed or onslaught. The bleeds will work against everything except I don't think you really want to do it against Nex and Blood Phase. But aside from that, the bleeds are going to be useful in any other area. Even if it's not your favorite combat style, the bleeds and just having both of them will be useful. Maybe more even than Onslaught. However, Onslaught is a very cool ability and I think it's amazing. Bleeds will be good against everything as I've already said, and Onslaught is mainly useful against bosses. So the first one I think you should buy is whatever bleed your favorite combat style is. The second, in my opinion, is Onslaught, just because you're using Onslaught with any combat style, whereas with the second bleed, you'd only be using a combat style that is not your favorite. Third, in my opinion, the third thing you should buy is the second bleed. And then, you should buy Storm Shards that Shatter, and eventually the Teleport, if you ever buy that at all. And so with that, thank you for watching. I hope that this taught you something, and I hope that you like and subscribe to this video. And it's, well, the end of the video, as we know it. And you know what? I feel okay.